in the context of how we deal with forests. And I think that the exciting aspect is that now forests are starting to have a monetary value beyond the timber value, the physical value of its products and non-timber products and so on. So, but biodiversity, carbon, and those things, they create a higher overall interest on forests to keep them. And so still there is a problem, because forests cannot compete against profitable cash crops like palm oil, like soya, and so on. But coming back to local populations and local stakeholders, the underlying model, the economic model behind, and the theory behind this is opportunity costs. That we we need to pay for the foregone profits of another land use. So the economic theory is we need to pay the same amount or more to local forest holders to prevent them from transforming the forest into another land use, which has more higher value and so on. So the compensation payment should be as high as the value of the competing use. But coming back to local populations, for them the opportunity costs look quite different. We would have, for example, in Europe, we have all these small millions. We have 18 million small forest owners. They're very small, but the interesting thing is they do not sell their forest. They have other values which are important for them. So we have a stable forest ownership and a stable forest structure in Europe, and the forest cover is increasing. Yes, in Europe it's increasing, and what we see in tropical countries, local communities, indigenous groups, they even possibly would not be attracted by compensation payments, but because they have other values than money which they attach to these forests. And these are life insurances, these are saving banks, it's a health insurance, just to use some of the resources to physically as medicine, but also as to cut the tree when you need it. So
it's something else. It's a real relative.
And that is why I think focusing on local communities and decentralized structures is possibly the best way to fight the big competition against commercial agriculture and so on. But one important thing I have to say as well. If we look at the potential of forests to contribute to the mitigation of climate change, the REDD concept will not deliver then more than 30% of the total potential, because as many of the forests are already depleted, or as many of the forests are located in areas which are not interesting for REDD concepts, like the fragmented forests. We have to do other things there. And so our approach in the World Bank is we promote REDD as one approach, but we promote as well sustainable management of forests which are used by humans, by people, and restore their capacities. And that is not subject of REDD, to restore the forests. And we also clearly need to afforest and reforest, because in many areas we have degraded grasslands and so on, which have been forests in the past. So we need to rebuild these resources, and they can absorb a lot of carbon. And this is where we think the fast-growing plantations might be useful and have a function, because they could produce the industrial products like pulp, paper, and so on a very small area, and with a high growth rate, which natural forests do not have as such. So in protecting old growth forests doesn't mean that we not should also make afforestation, and Europe we learn in the 19th century. Basically, Europe has been reforested, and the forests we have now in Europe are coming from those investments at that time. And so you cannot plant a mixed forest. It's totally impossible because of the competition between trees and so on. You have to find structures which are based on not using the word monocultures, but you have to use a much lower number of tree species to be successful, and you have to know how they compete against each other. And there is a huge potential now in the tropics, for example, in countries like Indonesia, where many forests are clear-cut. Primary forests are clear-cut for pulp and paper products, for the supply of these factories. The concept would be to stop that, go out of the rainforests, but draw the supply for pulp and paper from plantations which are built with the support of local populations in degraded grasslands or abandoned lands, which you can negotiate with the population. And so the rainforest would remain there, but the industry, the private sector, and everybody needs pulp, toilet paper, for example. Everybody needs that. So that would come from a source which is not degrading any more lands, and we know that even plantations have a higher value compared to biodiversity value and so on than grassland and other degraded areas. So I think this is we cannot focus only on one. We have to see the whole range of issues. And this is why we are planning now to build up a forest investment fund, a so-called forest investment program under the family of climate investment funds, which would just help the REDD concept and to make these investments. Because what we see now under the REDD approach, funding would be available for doing the technical work, the methodological work to develop these plans. But there is a gap between that moment when the plan is ready and when the country can produce carbon benefits and draw on carbon emission reductions from forests. So in many countries you need to invest first, to change the rules and make investments. And this fund is aiming at supporting those investments so that at a later stage the country can count on revenues from possible carbon markets or funds or whatever, which would reward the country for leaving the forests as they are and so on. So this is I thought it would be important to explain the context in which REDD can work and what needs to be the framework for that.